Hey Heidi, how's it going?
Hello, nice to see you again.
I see you as
Yeah,
well.
actually, previous time I had a lesson with the Filipinos. I belong to some school, online school, English or online English school
Uh-huh.
based in Philippines.
Cool, very cool. Nobody actually joined me in my last class.
Really?
Yeah, so I was I
Oh,
was
it's
I
way
was
too good.
teaching the information to myself, I guess.
Yeah, if I knew about that before, I didn't reserve his lesson in the Philippines.
Uh-huh.
But I already had a reservation with him.
That's not a
So
problem. It's fine.
I attended his lesson. We are
Cool.
talking to other things about marijuana trafficking.
Oh, really? There's a lot of marijuana trafficking in the Philippines?
I don't know. It was kind of article.
Uh-huh. Okay, okay. Very
Mm.
cool. Very cool.
And the school had own articles, so I learned about articles every day.
Hmm. Very
For
cool. Very cool.
example, in Kolingo, we can't read any text, right? So
Yeah, that's true.
in the online school, it's very effective for me.
Uh-huh. To be able to actually practice reading.
Yeah, I can learn pronunciation, reading.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I think it's one of the things. I think here the focus is more on the conversation and
Mm.
on listening effectively, and also following along as we do the reading
This
as
is
well.
article.
Uh-huh. Rare job daily news article.
Yeah,
Department
read
will
with
not.
the online school name.
Yeah, let me take a look at this. U.S. Justice Department will not block marijuana legislation legalization. Oh, that's interesting. When the Obama administration. Yeah, this is actually something that has been very controversial actually in many parts of the world. Um, well, actually, in many parts of the Western world, marijuana is already not
Yeah.
prosecuted to the level that it is in the United States. I think marijuana use in the United States remains something extremely controversial.
Mm, yes,
There
yes.
are a lot of young people who would like to have marijuana decriminalized, honestly.
How about
Uh,
India? India, maybe your country is not India, but India is producing a lot of marijuana or some kind of.
I think the bigger problem,
No?
Latin America has a lot of marijuana production. Mexico,
Mm.
Colombia, those countries. They
How about
actually
India? No?
India, I think they definitely do produce, but they produce for kind of their own people.
Mm.
I don't think it's really for export that much. But it's
Actually, marijuana is used in another things, right? Their stocks is made to make ropes or.
yeah, so that plant is actually hemp, right?
Yes,
It actually
yes.
has a different name,
Mm.
so we call that
The
hemp.
coffee bags or something.
Yeah. You can use coffee, you can make coffee bags out of them, you can make rope out of them, just like you said. Hemp has a
Yeah.
lot of uses, actually.
Mm.
Yeah. Marijuana, however, is almost always as a recreational drug, which is interesting. But so yeah, what else is going on, Heidi? I guess I don't know how many other people will join this class, but it's one of those things I feel like maybe the late night weekend classes are not that popular because people are relaxing or they're outside or they're enjoying.
I've just finished the formal lesson in another school, so I entered. So I don't know your subjects of this lesson. What
Well,
spying on
yeah, spying
students?
on students, yeah. Well, that's what we're
Okay.
talking about, I guess. But I mean, even besides that, like, how's your arm feeling?
Ah, it's getting better.
That's good. That's good.
Mm.
Did you go to the clinic today as well, or?
I know it's closed today and tomorrow. Tomorrow is a national holiday, so.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Mm.
It's a sports day. Okay, that's really cool. But yeah, I think in a few weeks it'll be off and you'll be right back to normal where you were before.
Mm.
That's good.
I don't know why other students didn't enter your class.
Yeah, I think it was just an odd time because I think those guys came and then it was 1 hour class. I think they were tired. I mean, it's late in many parts of the world right now,
Mm.
you know. It's also early morning in many parts of the world, or I should say
Mm.
morning. It's also late.
Many students are from Brazil,
Yeah, I've
so
seen a lot of
now
Brazilians.
it's midnight.
Yeah, it's midnight there now, exactly. Exactly. So they are probably, and it's midnight on a Saturday night, so they're probably either having fun with family, friends, maybe out partying, or just
Outside.
enjoying. Yeah, yeah. Brazilian, and I mean, Brazilian students, we have a lot. We have a decent number of Saudi Arabian students.
Mm.
Um, I'm surprised we don't have that many Chinese students or people from Asia,
Ah,
honestly.
because Chinese they can't use Google.
Oh, you're right.
2 years ago, Google withdrew from China.
Because
They
of
have some
the.
problem about this election, censoring.
Hmm. Hmm. That's actually kind of sad, right? Because Google
Mm.
is such a large company, and that's the world's largest population.
So some Chinese students can enter class, but they are using Google search engine, and maybe from other relatives or someone. They borrowed some account.
Maybe over a VPN or a virtual private network.
Mm.
Maybe. I honestly I don't know. It's kind of
But
sad.
but Chinese people can't see the YouTube.
Really.
Yeah, sometimes the teacher showed us a YouTube video, but Chinese people always said, I can't see it.
Oh wow.
YouTube video was censored by Chinese government.
You know, it's kind of sad that there are so many restrictions.
Mm.
Like I'm sure the United States also has a lot of restrictions that I don't know about because I've never seen them because I don't know about them, you know?
Mm.
But I think governments in general, so many parts of the world, and this is interesting because it ties into our discussion a little bit, right? We are talking about spying in this class. We're talking about people, we are talking about spying at the level of a school,
Mm.
at the level of a high school, at the
Mm.
level of a middle school, right?
Oh,
This is happening in the U.S. now. In this article that we see, it's sanctioned by the school administration and by the school district, for example. So in the
for
United
what
States,
for purpose?
and for what purpose? Really,
Mm.
I think it's to control the kids in terms of from a safety perspective. Because
Mm.
in the United States, we do have, unfortunately, we have a high. Many communities in the United States have a high dropout rate, have a high rate of students dropping out of school, especially in the
Mm.
urban areas, right?
Yeah, yeah.
In the inner city, for example, I'm in DC. Today I'm in Washington, D.C.,
Mm.
and this city is really, I mean, you see the part that is
Mm.
government and official and beautiful and, very professional and great. But then this
Mm.
same city in another part of Washington, you have the very extremely poor people, a lot of crime, a lot of violence, a lot of drugs, right?
Do you have some another way for drop the student
Yeah,
to
a
drop?
lot of students drop out for it
Mm.
because they don't like to, they don't see the value of staying in school, right?
Mm.
They honestly don't see the value because they see that they the schools are worse than the streets,
Mm.
you know?
But
The
for example, other kind of private school or something for that people, but that students.
Well, if a student drops out, excuse me, if a student drops out of school, usually they're dropping out of a public school, right?
Mm.
So public schools are free. Public schools you can find in every city, in every community, right?
Mm.
But many public schools in many of these very, very crime-infested, crime-ridden areas
Mm.
don't have the same level of security and
Mm.
success that these other schools have, right? For example, my public school, I went to public school. My public school was great. I mean,
Mm.
it felt like a private school, you know? The
Mm.
teachers were very professional, the students were very hardworking. There was
Mm.
very little crime, there was very little you know, bad behavior in my entire school. So
Mm.
it was easy for people to, it was easy for people, for parents to move to my community and
Mm.
say, oh, okay, this school is great. We will have our children go to this school, right?
Mm.
Wasn't a problem. But in many
Mm.
other parts of the world, and many other parts of the US, excuse me, you have public schools that are very, very, very rough schools for the children. The children are seeing drugs and violence and all of that inside their schools.
Before I watched the TV from report from America, some family they don't want to their kids go to their school. Then they are teaching the study in their house.
Yeah, that happens as well. We call it
Mm.
homeschooling.
Mm.
And homeschooling is increasingly becoming more and more popular because
Mm.
parents think if my children or my child is at home, I will be
Mm.
able to control them better. I will not allow drugs, of course, and
Mm.
violence and all those other things into the house. They will learn what they need to learn. They will take the same exam that the kids in the normal school are taking,
Mm.
and they can apply to the same universities, they can apply to the same jobs. I mean, but see, the thing is, the problem with that philosophy for me is at a
Mm.
certain point, your child has to leave home, right?
Mm.
You can't
Yeah.
keep your child at home forever. So
Mm.
you can say, for example, homeschooling becomes a popular option in high school
Mm.
for some parents, because some parents are very afraid of what will happen if their children go to high school in a public school or in a school that doesn't have the right environment for their children, right? But then let's say high school ends.
Mm.
You're not going to be able to have a university in your house.
But I think school is the place not to only study, but also they can get some sociability.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely, right? Yeah.
if the parents teach them, maybe studied okay, but they can't have gain some sociability.
You
Then
know, go ahead.
if
I'm sorry.
they grow up and they need to get some job, that time they can't adjust in the companies, right?
Yeah, I think socially,
Mm.
that is a big concern from the social side of it, because what do these parents do? These parents, they say, I was talking to a guy who has 6 kids,
Mm.
and all of them are homeschooled.
Mm-hmm.
So his poor wife is homeschooling all of these children.
Mm.
One of them is 15, the next one is 13, the next one is 11, I think the one after that is 7, and the youngest is
Mm.
4 or 3 years old. I mean,
Mm.
it's so much work for the mother.
Mm.
It's a ridiculous amount of work for the mother. But I asked the guy, I said, "Why are you doing this? Do you maybe you can choose a private school, maybe you can choose any other school that
Mm.
has that allows will at least allow your wife and you to both have a life."
Mm.
I mean, 6 kids if they're always at home for school and for everything else. I mean, imagine
Mm.
how difficult,
Mm.
how busy that lifestyle is, right?
Mm.
So, and when I asked him about the social question, he said, our kids are very social because they are always hanging out with other homeschooled kids.
Mm.
So these homeschooled parents have associations in which they are using their they're sending their children to clubs and camps and other organizations that
Mm.
made for other homeschooled children.
Mm.
Which even then I don't think is the ideal scenario, because you want your child to mix with everybody.
Yeah.
Right? If your child is
Mm.
just mixing with homeschooled kids, then they're going to have a limited view of social skills, you know,
Yes.
limited
Mm.
ability of social skills. But
Mm.
how common is that in Japan? Do parents do homeschooling in Japan as well?
I know I've never heard so. But instead, some volunteer group opened some school
Hmm.
in a small room. They gather some dropout student who drop out, and the same class. They are teaching that.
So you guys do have dropouts in Japan.
Yeah, there are many dropout.
I thought it was, I thought it would be rare.
Hmm?
It's not rare
What?
to have dropouts. I thought Japan. I mean, it's a
Yeah,
very
yeah, there are many
academic.
dropout. Yeah.
Really,
Japan case, most of reason is bullying.
bullying.
Bullying, yeah.
Uh-huh. Why are so bullying leads to dropouts?
Um, Japanese society is much different from American.
Uh-huh.
We have same almost same race. So feature is very similar to each other, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So if someone a little different characteristic, different the sense or something,
Hmm.
they hit him, they beat him.
And what did the school administration what do they do?
Uh, so they are bullied because of a little different characteristic or something. Always they are
Well, I'm
bullied.
saying are the schools taking any action against the bullies? Are they expelling, suspending the bullies? Are they trying to help the kid who is different?
Yeah, they are bullying on the outside of school.
Oh, okay.
Then they can't hit their face, only body, like that.
Really, in Japan?
Yeah.
So in Japan, teachers can still hit the body?
And not the other student.
Oh, the other students in terms of okay. I understand. I understand. So, dang, I had no idea bullying was an issue in Japan. I thought Japanese society would be so these kids who are bullied are the ones that drop out.
Yeah, yeah, and they drop out or they commit suicide.
No way.
Yeah, it's very sad. Parents didn't know about that. So after that, they got to know about that their kid's situation because they left some letters for parents. Many cases, I was bullied in school like that, and the student who bullied is the name or something.
Oh wow.
And after that, parents complained about that to the school. Our school principal said always after that the interview. I didn't know that. I believed in my school there are no bullying, but slightly the teachers know about that. Other students sometimes they report it, but they ignore that.
That's very interesting. I mean, do you is this a high is this a big problem, this teenage suicide?
Yeah, nowadays it's a very big problem.
How often does it happen? Like how many times a week do you guys read in the newspaper?
Yeah, if they left some letters, it's clearer. But sometimes they commit suicide secretly in the mountain,
Wow.
hanging there, hanging themselves.
Hanging themselves in a mountain?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like in a mountainous area away from the city.
Yes.
Oh wow. That's incredible. And I'm sure they also do it in their homes, right?
Mm, if they hang themselves in form, but they don't have any evidence, in that case, the police dispose that matter as a common suicide, not bullied.
Do you think the bullying aspect also, or, I've heard about Japanese teenage suicide. Is it something that can also be contributed? Can something else that contributes to that be the fact that there's so much academic pressure for students?
Mm, I'm not sure. My age, I bullied sometimes happen, but our generation is much stronger than the kids nowadays.
Hmm.
Mm.
That's very interesting. Really sad, but interesting that it's something that is. I mean, we see instances of bullying here also, right?
Mm.
Every one now and then we hear a case of a student who was bullied, and excuse me, as you can tell, it's late. uh, Bullying leads to many kinds of social issues, many kinds of depression, mental kind of imbalances. I mean, people don't feel good about themselves when they're getting bullied, right? So that it affects their self-esteem, it affects their ability to have, you know, meaningful relationships with other people, and it's not a happy thing at all, right? But
Mm,
the reason I was asking about the school administration is even in the US, even if the bullying is happening outside of school, usually the children that are the bulliers you know, are in the same school as the
mm,
victim, right?
yes, yes.
So, and from that sense, the United States, I think, is a little bit different because the counselors and maybe the principal and these other people,
Mm,
they try to, they do still try to reach out to the bullies and the
mm,
victims in the school environment.
mm,
Even if the bullying is not directly happening at school, the
mm,
justification is that this is affecting school performance,
mm,
right? And because school performance is being affected, the principal and the school administration have a right to intervene at school,
yeah,
right? Which I think maybe that model, if maybe Japanese schools adopt that model, it would be
yeah, I
something that
think
would be
so.
beneficial,
Mm.
right?
The Japanese students are quite modest. So if they are bullied at first, they thought, reasons myself.
Hmm.
I have some bad things, so they bullied me. So they are embarrassed about that. So they can't say that things to their parent. They keep it a secret by himself.
So as a result, maybe the first time the parents hear about this stuff is when they read the suicide letter.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Wow, that's tragic.
Hmm.
That's a
Before
very
I
tragic.
was talking about the suicide and of students to Filipinos. Filipinos said, yeah, bullying happened even in Philippines often, but that case, Filipino students have revenge to the bullies. They threw a stone, big stone, the student and
Wow.
ran away.
Japanese students should learn something from these Filipino
Yeah,
students
I
then,
think so.
right? I mean, you can't be so embarrassed if you're doing nothing wrong
Mm,
and you are still being bullied and these guys are just they're bulliers.
mm.
Or I mean, they are bullies, excuse me. They are bullies. They love to bully. Then I
Yeah,
mean, there's nothing
yeah,
else we
that's
can do
right.
about that,
Mm.
right?
So the person who was bullied but still quiet, the bullies are, it's kind of fun. They bullied and bullied again and again.
Hmm.
So if the student were bullied by someone, they should say something or very loudly. Then bullies were surprised. Then maybe they can stop it.
Yeah. Wow. I just think that's remarkable though that there's this culture of bullying has existed. I mean, of course, it exists in other societies, but I find it very surprising that it's gotten to the
Mm,
point where the kids are hesitating to even acknowledge the fact that the problem may be somebody else.
mhm,
That the first thing they think about, at least in Japan, is maybe the problem is me and maybe these kids are correct in bullying me.
mm.
I think that's really sad, honestly.
In Japan, the family has only 1.3 children. So if
Wow.
parent lost one child, it's very sad, right? Sad
Yeah,
case.
yeah. They only have zero point 0.3 children left.
Mm.
I mean, like on average, at that point, it's the point 0.3 is zero, right? So you're
Yeah,
losing a generation.
yeah, that's right.
That's incredible. Very tough. Why is it so low in Japan? It's not like you guys have a one-child policy.
Not one child policy.
Yeah.
Well, raising up children is very tough for parents, right?
Hmm.
They need to have a lot of budget. Japanese college is very expensive. Every year we need to pay over 1 million yen means $10,000.
Hmm.
10,000, it's correct.
Maybe
Yes.
100,000?
No, no, not 10, $100,000
Uh-huh.
a year.
Wow.
100 is okay. No, no, no. I can't calculate.
100,000 is 1 with 5 zeros, right?
1,000 is 1,000. 10,000. Correct? Yes,
So
10,000
100, this is
dollars.
100,000, this is
10,
10,000.
$10,000 a year.
$10,000 a year. Uh-huh.
Mm.
How many yen are in $1?
$1 is 100 yen,
$1 is
almost.
100 yen. So a
Mm.
million yen would
Yes,
be
yes,
$10,000. That's right.
yes, yes.
Yeah. That is super
So
expensive.
they can't raise up 2 children. It's very tough.
What is the largest Japanese family you've seen?
13 or 14.
13 or 14 kids?
Yeah, but it's very famous family.
Oh, okay. What about normally? Maybe you see 1 or 2, right?
1 or 2, yes,
1 or 2
or 0.
children. What about 3? It's
3 is
rare.
a rare case, yeah.
That's a rare case. Wow, that's very interesting. Um, in any case, Heidi, let's get started with the lesson.
Yes.
I know it's been a while. Nobody else joined. So let's see. Today we are talking about subject-verb agreement. Honestly, I think you are very well aware of this topic. But, if we have a subject that has, if there's more than one subject, if it's a plural subject,
Mm.
then we have to change the verb to be a plural verb, right? So how could you say she and her friends,
Mm.
and then how could you finish the sentence if the subject is plural? So
She
she and her friends,
and
yeah,
a friend are.
exactly, are, right? Instead of is, the verb is are because we have more than one.
Mm.
And then what about, so when we are talking about two or more singular
Mm.
nouns or pronouns, then if they are being connected by or nor, then we
Mm.
just use a singular verb, right?
Yeah.
So what's an example of that?
So teacher and student, that case, teacher or students, that case are. But
Exactly.
student or teacher, that case is.
Exactly. Fantastic. You got it on the. You hit the nail on the head with that. Fantastic. You did it exactly right. And then if you have a compound subject which contains both a singular and a plural noun,
Mm.
or if you have a pronoun that, or I'm sorry, or a pronoun that is, a singular or plural noun or a pronoun, if you have any of those joined by or nor, then we would
Mm.
have to agree, then the verb needs to agree with the part of the subject that is closest to the verb,
Yes, yes.
right? So what's an example of that?
Example?
Yeah. So let's say, for example, neither the students nor the teacher,
Mm.
what would the verb be?
A singular.
Exactly, because teacher is singular, right?
Yes, yes.
Fantastic. And what about, so we already know about contractions. If we have an example in which, if we have an interesting, okay, so one of these things, this is where writing and reading become important, is if you
Mm.
have a sentence within which you have another phrase that is in commas, right?
Mm.
Then the verb needs to agree with the subject and not with whatever pronoun or noun may be in that internal phrase, right?
Mm.
So let's
Yeah.
say we have an example of something like, you know, the 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 dogs um, who love to okay, I'm just going to write it here. So the dogs who loved to bathe in the sun
Mm.
with their master blank. Would it be a plural verb or would it be a singular verb in that example?
Mm. The dogs flew out into was in the sun with their master, and the plural. The
Exactly.
subject is dogs.
Exactly right. So in that example, if you could use, how could you just make a sentence then? Use a plural verb and let's make a sentence.
Mm. Is mm, is eating food.
So the dogs, we have to make it plural though, right? It can't be is.
Are eating some food.
Or eating some food, right?
Yes.
So the dogs who loved to bathe in the sun with their master are eating their food, right? Fantastic. And then one other example we see here is if we have subjects like either, neither, everyone, everybody, anybody, nobody, somebody, then we use singular, right?
Singular. Yes.
So what's an example of that?
Yeah. Each student is given some award.
Each student is given some hours,
Each
right?
student some award.
Exactly, right? In that case, we are using is, which is a singular because each and every or each of one of these are each and every one or any of these examples are used in singular context.
Every teacher in the school is loved by students.
Exactly. Excuse me, Heidi. Excuse me.
Okay.
Every teacher.
Me too, I'm a little sleepy.
I know, right? No, we've been in these classes for a while now. So yeah, every teacher in the school is loved by the students, right? Fantastic. Yes. Great job with that one as well. And then we also use singular verbs for nouns such as civic matters, mathematics, dollars, metrics, right? So, for example, even with diseases, right? So, like her measles is contagious, right? The news is on TV. The mathematics is very difficult, or looks very difficult, or is very difficult, right? Because you are using these types of subjects, it would have to be a singular. And then there are some that, even though they seem like they're singular item, we have to be using a plural, right?
Yeah.
What are some examples of these nouns that we can see?
Some students are bored in the class. Okay.
Some students are bored in the class. That's one example, absolutely. But what about things like pants and scissors?
Plural.
Like headphones. Right? Headphones also. The headphones are black, right? Those headphones are noise canceling headphones, right?
For example, his sunglasses are very cool.
Exactly. So these types of sentences we have to use plural, even though the item itself is singular, right? You still have one pair of sunglasses, but when we are talking about making them subject-verb agreement, we have to use the plural noun. The sunglasses are very cool. The sunglasses look very cool, right? So it's all singular. All right. Any questions on that, Heidi? I think you got them all.
No questions.
Fantastic. Let's get started with the article then. So what is going on about spying in schools, right? It's a very interesting situation. Kind of sad, kind of scary in some instances also, but also worth knowing about, I think. So I'm going to start my screen share, and let's get this started.
Okay.
Let's see what we see here. Okay, dokie. California School District hires online monitoring firm to watch 13,000 students. Startup analyzes public social media posts. Therefore, no privacy is violated. The way Chris Friedrich tells it, monitoring school kids' public social media posts and then reporting questionable activities about them to school officials is an unquestionable net positive. So his startup, Geo-Listening, does just that. Geo-Listening looks for social media posts that deal with depression, despair, online bullying, hate speech, or other words and phrases that may indicate a possible violation of school code of conduct, whether it's by a student or someone around a school's location. Last month, Geo-Listening even signed a deal with the Glendale Unified School District north of downtown Los Angeles. Their agreement became the first publicly confirmed partnership between the company and a school district. Glendale will pay $40,500 for geo-listening to monitor posts by 13,000 students across its 8 middle and high schools for an academic year. If our service gets kids to privatize their pages, that's all a positive for our kids and our society, Friedrich told ours. He noted that the service would not catch posts that are logged down as private. Geo-listening, based in Hermosa Beach, California, a small beach town just south of Los Angeles International Airport, is not given a list of student names. Rather, it is scanning posts across Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and other online services, searching for certain keywords and location information that would tie a person to the school community. Relevant data is then presented in a daily report to school officials. All of the individual posts we monitor on social media networks are already made public by the students themselves, GeoListening on our science website. Therefore, no privacy is violated. The company's privacy policy further states, Geo's listening service processes, analyzes, and reports only publicly available data that aligns with school district procedures and board policy related to student conduct and safety. The geo-listening system takes into account frequency and severity of a student's posts that include indicators relating to bullying, cyberbullying, hate and shaming activities, depression, harm and self-harm, self-hate and suicide, crime, vandalism, substance abuse, and truancy. Geo-listening does not circumvent any personal privacy settings on the platforms where it indexes content. The geo-listening services are intended solely to collect and process publicly available information. We were able to save a life. The entrepreneur claims that by July 2014, the service will be available at 3,000 school sites across the world, the majority being in North America. Friedrich distinguishes school sites to include school and district-related facilities, like a bus depot or a swimming pool, that might technically be off campus. If we find a post and we report it to the school and we let them know that this is behavior that is depicting despair, and here is information that we were able to find in the public domain, we give that to school officials, he said. Frustratingly, Friedrich declined to provide any technical details of the service. He wouldn't share an example of the types of reports that would go to school officials, though he specifically denied the company is using scraping or facial recognition technologies. We have various technologies, methods that we use. It should be technology methods that we use. We have various technology methods that we use. They are all legal and publicly available, Friedrich said. We're monitoring social networks. Our methodologies allow us to know who is and who is not a stakeholder of a particular school. And that's how we determine what we report to the school district. The Glendale Unified School District did not respond to ours request for comment. However, the school district superintendent told CNN that an earlier pilot program with geo-listening helped a student who was discussing suicide online. We were able to save a life, Richard Sheehan told the news channel. It's just another avenue to open up a dialogue with parents about safety. Surveillance is surveillance is surveillance. It remains clear, however, that the company is capturing data, likely location-based, about people besides students. Ours asked Friedrich if a public tweet from a non-student saying, "Drinking across the street from Glendale High School," would turn up in his system. He said that data would not be immediately reported, but that it could be retained for future reference. If you did something later on, and then we needed to see if there was a trend or pattern, we would be able to access the day you had coffee. But then again, we're 9 months in, and we haven't had a lot of scenarios, he noted. It's also unclear exactly how this type of social media scanning, data analysis, and retention would occur over time, particularly during school holidays or after a student has left the school district. It could be the case if this company continues its arrangement with districts like Glendale, excuse me, that geo-listening could retain 12 years worth of social data from particular students. That policy being developed is that we're looking into what the industry best practices are, Friedrich noted. We have a potential lifespan within our sphere of responsibility of 12 or 13 years of a student. I don't think it's likely that we're going to be holding data for that long. We will adhere to the law and we will adhere to what the industry best practices are so we can best serve our clients. The duration of that storage, 9 months in, is still being developed as to what the end timeline is going to be. Very interesting situation, Heidi, right? We see specifically, and something that's very interesting for me is even before we started reading this article, we mentioned the issue of bullying, right? And the issue of cyberbullying now is also something that is affecting people. Do you think this will actually be a beneficial thing, or do you disagree with what this company is doing at schools?
Okay. But almost all cases of bullying is occurred in out of school. How they can follow it?
So it's something that I am not really 100% sure, right? But
Yeah.
their system seems to be based on just monitoring publicly available information,
Mm.
right? So if a student writes on their public Facebook post, I'm thinking of killing myself,
Mm.
then they will report that to the school.
Mm.
But do you think that's right? Do you think that idea or that approach is the right way to do things?
But it's written there. Therefore, no privacy is violated. I don't think so.
I know, right? This company believes that if the information is public, then it's not private.
Mm.
It,
But
it
if
doesn't matter.
someone gathers only, for example, my information from any social media, including my information or my friend information, it's kind of uh, privacy violation.
Hmm. Because at the same time, you are not intending that information to be seen by whoever this third-party company is,
Yes, yes.
right? Even though it's public to, I mean, even though it's public, it's not something that you expect someone to be like someone who doesn't know you to associate with you fully, right? I mean, actually, I don't know. That's a good question. Should people be more careful
Yeah.
when people are making these kinds of assumptions? Heidi, give me 1 second. I have to go grab my friend because
Yes.
he's locked outside. I'll be right back.
Okay, okay.
Class about cyberbullying, actually. Very interesting stuff. Huh, it's going on right now, yeah. Got like another 15 minutes. Oh, it's Heidi. Heidi's always in my classes. It's good. All right, Heidi, let's get started.
Who is talking with you?
This is my friend.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey. Alrighty. So Heidi, yeah, what do you think?
Actually, it's not a related student, but before I had a stalker.
You had a stalker?
Yeah, I belonged to other online school. The lessons are group lessons.
Uh-huh.
At first, I was a beginner student. I couldn't understand English so much.
Uh-huh.
But the other student was, she is a kind of advanced student. She can speak a lot. Then once I was in the same lesson with her, she was interested in me. I'm not sure. I talked about something with the teacher. I've never talked to her directly. Then after that, I always choose a beginner lesson. Sometimes she entered beginner lesson even though she is advanced. So I dislike that because it's beginner lesson. She was very talkative. I couldn't study and so much. Then after that, whenever she reserved some lesson, I canceled it. I
Hmm.
always canceled. She followed me. Always she followed me. I became some enemy, her enemy. Then after that, she was kicked out from the school. I don't know the reason. I've never talked about her to school managers or even other students or teachers.
Hmm.
I I always ran away from her secretly. But she thought I said something about her to the school, so it reason she was kicked out from the school. But
And it's the
I
reason she hates you too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Uh-huh.
She was kind of researcher, so she was proud of herself. I was rejected her like that,
Uh-huh.
but not rejected. My skill was very bad. Only that reason. I was hesitated to have lesson with the other advanced student.
Yeah,
So
I mean, for me, it's surprising that this person was allowed to
mm,
take these beginning classes. Why didn't the school stop her from doing that?
mm,
That's the
maybe
school's responsibility, right?
she always complained about something to the school. Maybe it's reason, but
Hmm.
she thought it's right for her. Maybe reason is me. I said something to the school manager. Then
Hmm.
after that, she sent a message about me to every teacher. And
Hmm.
I had a Facebook. She entered my Facebook. Sometimes, only once, I wrote some diary about her, but I don't put the name, only initial.
Hmm.
She stored my diary. She kept the diary in her place for long. I wrote that diary. It was 4 years ago. So my skill was very bad. Then after that, she opened her blog.
Hmm.
She put my diary in her blog.
She can't do that.
Yeah, that's right. It's my my
That's
diary.
your personal information.
Yeah, that's right. And
What
she
did
was
you
not my
do?
friend in the field.
You should have prosecuted. You should have taken her to court.
Yeah, that's right. And then I asked my attorney, how can I do that? She said, you can sue her and the court, or you can ask some compensation to her,
Hmm.
or it's kind of crime. She
It
can
is a
be
crime, right?
arrested by police. So I wanted to do that, but before that, I sent a message to my friend. I want to sue her. Then tomorrow I'll go into the attorney. Then next day, before going to attorney, I wanted to copy her blog, but she already removed her blog.
Oh wow! Because you wanted to copy it as proof, right?
Yes, yes.
And then, but she had already removed it.
So like that, I wrote down my blog, not blog, diary in my Facebook. It's not for her. I wanted to complain, or I wanted to get rid of my frustration, only that.
Hmm.
Because I kept about her between the problem between us always a secret. It's
Yeah.
a get kind of frustration for me.
No,
So
I
I,
mean that's a serious thing. This is a serious thing. This would
mm,
frustrate anybody.
yeah. Then sometimes she entered my Facebook. She checked my friend. She sent a lot of mail to my friend.
Hmm.
Kitty is very bad. She said something. She said bad thing about me to the
That's ridiculous.
manager. So I was
That's so
kicked out.
childish,
Yeah.
right? So sad. But you know,
I have migraine. My hand is always shaking by frustration. It's caused by Kitty.
yeah, no, I mean, in the US, if this had happened in the US, you would have been sitting on some serious money.
Mm.
you would have been able to take her. In English, we have a phrase, taking someone to town, means going forward with something to such a level of completion that you don't leave anything undone. You let's say if you prosecute someone, you prosecute them all the way through, so that they would never have they never have the guts to do something to that level again, right? So we use a phrase in slang. We say, but not slang, but it's not like professional. To take someone to town is to go all the way with them. To take someone to town. So you
I
would have done
wonder,
that, yeah.
no privacy is violated. It's very strange.
Yeah, and this concept, I don't really know how they can do this without parents' consent. Because in the U.S., maybe it's somewhere in the article that we didn't look at, or maybe it's hidden in terms of what this policy actually involves. But even if children are publishing Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, social media, whatever they want, feeds publicly, I don't think it should be legal for a third-party company to be looking at that information without the consent of the parents. Because the parents, even in this country, even if your child wants to go on a field trip, the parents need to give permission, right? This is their personal information. Even though this company says we're not using names, you don't really need the name if you have the location and if you have the particular idea of what the message might be. You can still identify someone based on those things.
Yeah, and even the company said I can follow 12 hours or so about the one student.
Yeah.
But
You can
the
retain the
student
information.
is always growing up. So, for example, 5 years before, the student had different characteristics and different skills.
Yeah.
What's important? Following the lack of student? I don't think so.
I know. This is, I mean, I was actually very surprised at not only what they're doing, but how optimistic this founder is. I mean, this is a startup company, so it's something that, is established by young entrepreneurs, California-based, I mean, they have a lot of talent, right? These people are not necessarily, we wouldn't call these people dumb, they know what they're doing. But I'm surprised that they are taking on something that is risky, that is this risky, I think, especially when we consider student privacy, when we consider possible suicide attempts. Bullying has so many effects that may not even be, what if a person isn't commenting the opposite reaction to what he's feeling, right? I mean, some people write really happy things, but they might feel really sad. Is there any way to diagnose those cases? I mean, this type of research wouldn't be able to do that. This type of a startup wouldn't be able to do that. Which, I mean, I think I'm deviating from the point, because the point is that if somebody is writing those things, we want to catch. We want to catch those things, which I understand. But I don't know if it's the best solution. I mean, what is better? Shouldn't we just be, I mean, personally for me, if somebody is writing something that is distressful on a website, that to me means that somebody is not reaching out to them successfully in their real lives, in a face-to-face conversation, right?
I always think most important thing is the conversation with their parents. If they have some problem, at first they should say that things to their parent. Parent has the responsibility on their children.
And even if it's not the parent, right, it should be teachers, other adults who are maybe with this child in school, or, who know about the situation. They can still figure some things out. I mean, you don't need to have, a social media website telling you that somebody is mentally unstable. Right?
Yeah.
To me, that's almost, it's sad that we've reached that level of reliance on technology.
I can follow that person 12 years. So if the person graduated school, she got a good job, now she is very good. Why they need to know about the person 12 years ago?
History.
12 years ago, he do like this child.
Yeah.
It's no need.
I know. It's not fair. So Heidi, let me ask you then, the last 5 minutes that we have, do you think something like this would ever be popular in Japan?
Like this company.
Yeah,
No, not popular. I had this company and for the first time. It's likely American.
it is American, yeah. But I mean, do you think Japanese schools would like the idea of being able to monitor social media
Mm,
to prevent these cases of suicide that you're saying
mm,
is a problem in Japan, right? It's a big problem. And Japan is a
mm.
very technologically advanced society, so do you think there would be interest in implementing something similar?
Before only one private school decided to put a lot of security camera in the class and the corridor on the toilet everywhere.
Hmm.
It became very a big problem. Many parents and media accused that.
Right. So it's
How
not
do you think?
something. Go ahead,
How
I'm
do you
sorry.
think about social camera and a security camera in the school?
Oh, we have it here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we have security cameras. Every high school has them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In Japan, no, no security camera.
We have metal detectors in most schools.
Mm. Maybe now only private school has.
Yeah, I think culturally speaking, America is at a different level when it comes to
Mm.
schooling and treating children like, or treating students in a way that is
Mm.
more like, surveillance based than I think in other countries. Because here we have the fear, after many tragedies, that students will bring guns to school, or
Mm.
students will shoot other students or do violence against other students. I mean, I think the U.S. is the only country where you have uniformed police officers assigned to schools.
Mm.
But you have a police officer comes to work at a school and not a police station,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
That is what we see in many places in the U.S., especially in the urban neighborhoods, in bad neighborhoods where we have like drugs, a lot of crime, right?
Mm.
You can take a country like India where there's so much corruption and violence in just society in general, but the
Mm.
schools don't have that problem. You
Mm.
know, in the school, the teachers and the principals are still kings,
Mm.
and they can maintain security, and there's discipline in the schools, right? I mean, you
Mm.
don't need to have a police officer in school to enforce discipline. So
Ka-
that makes America's case very different from I think other places, which is
Japanese
why,
school is
yeah.
kind of sovereignty. So police can't intervene the school.
So what happens if you need to like arrest somebody?
Yeah, after something happened at that time, the police can enter that school, but usually they can't intervene the school.
Without any reasons, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Oh, here police can enter schools all the time. I mean, it's encouraged that children or students, especially from a young age, establish good relationships with the police, which is good because you want people to know the police are there to help us, right?
Mm,
But it's sad when you have to walk through a metal detector when you're entering school.
mm-hmm.
Like it's not an airport. And I mean we had articles about the airports before. TSA is a mess. I mean,
Mm,
anything that happens with air security in the US is just a nightmare. But
mm,
in the schools themselves, it's also very sad that we have to
mm,
rely on police and metal detectors and bomb sniffing dogs and drug sniffing dogs. You know, I mean, we have drills in school. Like my school, a fire drill is normal. Okay, any place can have a fire drill.
mm,
We had drug drills. Like, what if a school has, what if somebody brings marijuana to school? So the cops come in, the police come in with dogs, and they search all the lockers. The dogs just walk
mm.
by all the lockers,
Oh,
and that way they catch if a child has or if a student has marijuana.
then if someone had some drugs in their locker, maybe police can arrest him.
Yeah, they do. I
Oh,
mean, that's the idea. That's the idea. They would
mm,
find the marijuana. They would find whose locker it is. Most often, the person would say, "It's not mine. Someone put it there, whatever." Right? So they would
mm,
investigate. They would try to figure out what the actual situation is.
oh,
And yeah,
mm,
it's common in the U.S. now. We've reached that state. of insecurity, I
Even
guess.
young student around 10.
Yeah, well, no, I would say starting with teenagers. I would say 13 is probably the lowest.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Well, anyway, Heidi, it was a great class. Did you have any questions about any of the stuff we talked about?
No questions.
No questions? Okay,
It's
awesome.
our culture is much different. I got to understand.
Yeah, I know, right? And I'm learning too. I did not realize and bullying to that extent in Japan is leading to so many
Mm,
suicides, especially. So, yeah.
yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Heidi. And I look forward to seeing you again. I have 2 classes tomorrow, and then starting on Monday, I have 4 classes every day.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. All right. See you later,
Yeah.
Heidi.
Thank you. Bye
Take
bye.
care. Bye bye. No problem. It's fine.
I attended his lesson. We are
Cool.
talking to other things about the marijuana trafficking.
Oh, really? There's a lot of marijuana trafficking in the Philippines?
I don't know. It was kind of article.
Uh-huh. Okay, okay. Very
Mm.
cool. Very cool.
The school had own articles, so I learned about articles every day.
Hmm. Very
For
cool. Very cool.
example, in Kolingo, we can't read any text, right? So
Yeah, that's true.
in the online school, it's very effective for me.
Uh-huh. To be able to actually practice reading.
Yeah, I can learn pronunciation, reading.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I think it's one of the things. I think here the focus is more on the conversation and
Mm.
on listening effectively, and also following along as we do the reading
This
as
is
well.
article.
Uh-huh. Rare job daily news article,
Yeah,
Department
read
of
with the online school name.
Yeah, let me take a look at this. U.S. Justice Department will not block marijuana legislation legalization. Oh, that's interesting. When the Obama administration. Yeah, this is actually something that has been very controversial actually in many parts of the world. Well, actually, in many parts of the Western world, marijuana is already not
Yeah.
prosecuted to the level that it is in the United States. I think marijuana use in the United States remains something extremely controversial.
Mm, yes,
There
yes.
are there are a lot of young people who would like to have marijuana decriminalized, honestly.
Mm. How about
Uh,
India? India, maybe your country is not India, but India is producing a lot of marijuana or some kind of.
I think the bigger problem,
No?
Latin America has a lot of marijuana production. Mexico,
Mm.
Colombia, those countries. They
How about
actually
India? No?
India, I think they definitely do produce, but they produce for kind of their own people.
Mm.
I don't think it's really for export that much. But it's
Actually, marijuana is used in another things, right? Their stocks is made to make ropes or.
yeah, so that plant is actually hemp, right?
Yes,
It actually has
yes.
a different name,
Mm.
so we call that
The
hemp.
coffee bags or something.
Yeah. You can use coffee, you can make coffee bags out of them, you can make rope out of them, just like you said. Hemp has a
Yeah.
lot of uses, actually.
Mm.
Yeah. Marijuana, however, is almost always as a recreational drug, which is interesting. But so yeah, what else is going on, Heidi? I guess I don't know how many other people will join this class, but
Mm.
it's one of those things I feel like maybe the late night weekend classes are not that popular because people are relaxing or they're outside or they're enjoying.
I've just finished the formal lesson in another school, so I entered. So I don't know your subjects of this lesson. What
Well,
spying on
yeah, spying
students?
on students. Yeah, well, that's what we're
Okay.
talking about, I guess. But I mean, even besides that, like, how's your arm feeling?
It's getting better.
That's good. That's good.
Mm.
Did you go to the clinic today as well, or?
I know it's closed today and tomorrow. Tomorrow is a national holiday, so.
Oh, that's Hey Heidi, how's it going?
Hello, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you as
Yeah,
well.
actually, previous time I had a lesson with the Filipinos. I belongs to some school, online school, English or online English school
Uh-huh.
based in Philippines.
Cool, very cool. Nobody actually joined me in my last class.
Really?
Yeah, so
Oh, it's
I was
wonderful.
teaching the information to myself, I guess.
Yeah, if I knew about that before, I didn't reserve his lesson in the Philippines.
Uh-huh.
But I already had a reservation with him.
That's not a
Relatives or someone. They borrowed some apartment.
maybe over a VPN or a virtual private network.
Mm.
Maybe. I honestly I don't know. It's kind of sad.
But Chinese people can't see the YouTube.
Really.
Yeah. Sometimes the teacher showed us a YouTube video, but Chinese people always said, I can't see it.
Oh, wow.
YouTube video was censored by Chinese government.
You know, it's kind of sad that there are so many restrictions.
Mm.
Like, I'm sure the United States also has a lot of restrictions that I don't know about because I've never seen them because I don't know about them, you know?
Mm.
But I think governments in general, so many parts of the world, and this is interesting because it ties into our discussion a little bit, right? We are talking about spying in this class. We're talking about people, we are talking about spying at the level of a school,
Mm.
at the level of a high school, at the
Mm.
level of a middle school, right?
Oh.
This is happening in the U.S. now. In this article that we see, it's sanctioned by the school administration and by the school district, for example. So in the
For
United
what?
States,
What for purpose?
and for what purpose? Really,
Mm.
I think it's to control the the kids in terms of from a safety perspective. Because
Mm.
in the United States, we do have, unfortunately, we have a high, many communities in the United States have a high dropout rate, have a high rate of, right, that's right, the sports day. Okay, that's really cool. But yeah, I think in a few weeks it'll be off and you'll be right back to normal where you were before.
Mm.
That's good.
I don't know why other students didn't enter your class.
Yeah, I think it was just an odd time because I think those guys came and then it was 1 hour class. I think they were tired. I mean, it's late in many parts of the world right now,
Mm.
you know. It's also early morning in many parts of the world, or I should say morning. It's also
Um,
late.
Many students are from Brazil,
Yeah, I've
so
seen a lot of Brazilians.
midnight.
Yeah, it's midnight there now, exactly. Exactly. So they are probably, and it's midnight on a Saturday night, so they're probably either having fun with family, friends, maybe out partying, or just
Outside.
enjoying. Yeah, yeah. Brazilian, and I mean, Brazilian students, we have a lot. We have a decent number of Saudi Arabian students.
Mm.
Um, I'm surprised we don't have that many Chinese students or people from Asia,
Ah,
honestly.
because Chinese they can't use Google.
Oh, you're right.
2 years ago, Google withdrew from China.
Because
They
of
have some
the.
problem about restriction, censoring.
Mhm. Mhm. That's actually kind of sad, right? Because Google
Mm.
is such a large company, and that's the world's largest population.
So some Chinese students can enter class, but they are using Google search engine, and maybe from other